on that interception, Sky Moore, why are we? I'm not even blaming Pat or Sky Moore on that. Why are we running that play? We've seen too much, and there's too much film. There's too much video to see this season, too many examples, too many games and plays to pull from to tell you that that's not going to work. I played for like a few games in like middle school, flag football. That was about it. Um, Pistol left. That's literally like all I remember. What's going on, everyone? You're listening to the Antonio Chauran Sports Podcast. I am your host, Antonio Chauran, and I got a lot on my mind, so damn it, buckle up. I'm going to go over my reaction from the Chiefs' loss to the Packers Sunday night. Haven't been playing really well in primetime games so far this season, which is surprising given, the caliber of how Chiefs teams have been over the past 5, 6 years. But then again, this is a season where we have dropped the ball figuratively and literally in many different aspects and in many different moments. So I guess can't be too shocked. Anyways, I'll be going over that. I'm going to give over some key takeaways I got from week 12, week 13 of the NFL. And then we'll get into a few predictions. I'm just going to give a prediction to a few games that I feel like are really important for this upcoming week. Wanted to change it up a little bit instead of just going over all 14, 15 games that are going on. So I'll pick like 3 or 4 that I think are very crucial and must-watch games for this coming weekend. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so everyone saw it. The Chiefs lost 27-19 against the Packers Sunday night. And it was, let's get the elephant or address the elephant in the room here. The Chiefs did not lose this game because of penalties or lack thereof. It wasn't because of bad officiating. It wasn't because there were calls that should have been made that weren't. The Packers outgunned us. They outplayed us. Jordan Love made us, look bad on the defensive side of the ball. This is the worst the defense has looked all season. 27 points given up. That's the most so far this season. And, I take that a little bit with a grain of salt given the fact that Drew Tranquil, who was the backup middle linebacker for Nick Bolton, was knocked out in the first drive of the game. And all of the defense, all the communication runs through the middle linebacking position. And so you have the third stringer coming in Cochran, who, played relatively well. But I wasn't looking so much for the standpoint of how he was doing individually. It was more so how he was communicating the defense that game. And you could tell that there were moments where the defense wasn't on the same page. And I genuinely linked that back to Tranquil being knocked out, given the fact that Nick Bolton hasn't been in over the past 4 or 5 weeks due to a wrist injury. I think he's coming back this weekend. I don't know that for a fact, but I do know he was a full participant in practice on Wednesday, which is good. And so I'm hoping that he can play Sunday because we really need him against the Bills. That's going to be a huge game. So I'll get my preview for that in a bit here. But yeah, that wasn't good. This was later in the game, obviously, but Brian Cook, our strong safety, got knocked out of the game, probably out for the rest of the regular season, hopefully not the postseason, but definitely going to be out for some time. I think it was an ankle injury. Luckily, x-rays came back negative, so it wasn't like a break or anything. I don't know the exact diagnosis of it, but yeah, it looked tough. It looked pretty tough, and anytime you have to get the card out there, it doesn't look good. Jacksonville Jaguars didn't get their card out to their prince, their franchise in Trevor Lawrence, but that's a conversation for another day. I thought that was funny. Everyone was trolling him on social media, on IG, Twitter, or X, or whatever. But yeah, anyways, so he got knocked out. Charles Menahue got knocked out a little bit in the game. Came back in, which is good, but yeah, we dealt with some injuries on that side of the ball. Left tackle, left tackle was knocked out. Donovan, and so we had the second stringer in on that side, and he's going to be starting for this coming game that we have on Sunday with the Bills. So that'll be interesting to see. Again, it's the blind side of a quarterback, and so that's the position, especially on the O line, that you need to have solidified. So we'll see how this kid holds up. Obviously Mahomes knows that side will be a little bit more vulnerable. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how pass protection goes there. Hopefully, he doesn't get sacked as much as he did in the game against the Packers. But yeah. So I say all of that to say, on the defensive side of the ball, we got to make sure that we shore up things there, especially on the run game. Like, we could not stop AJ Dillon. Now, look, I know he's a beast. Like, he's a built, stocky dude. He's like 250, 260. Like, that's big for a running back. And so it was just frustrating because there were so many opportunities to get back into that game. So many, and, we really had the chance at the end of the game with about 5 minutes left, and Pat throws that interception. And, I didn't want to admit it at the time. But that was the game sealing pick for the Packers to win that game. I was holding out hope because we were able to hold them to just a field goal. So at that point, it was an 8-point game, still within reach technically. But yeah, it just wasn't good. The offense did not look good. Pacheco had an amazing game. He had over 100 yards rushing, averaging like 5 yards a carry. And we couldn't capitalize. We just could not. And those first 2 drives killed us because those should have been touchdowns. But Pat takes a sack, a few penalties here and there, backs us up in the red zone, and we have to settle for field goals. And that was obviously where I think the game was lost, because they go down, the Packers get 7. We go down, we get 3. They go down, get another 7. We go down, get 3. It's 14-6 when it could easily be tied up at 14. So that was frustrating. And, just with other stuff in the game, I don't know what's going on with Pat, man. He looks off to me. Kelsey didn't have a bad game. The wide receivers as a whole, I mean, and look, I sound like a broken record here, but we just cannot get it done on the offensive side of the ball. Anytime we go for a deep ball, I'm just like, that's not going to be complete. I hate that. I hate having that mentality, because for so long, he goes up for the deep ball. You're like, oh shit, we're going for 60, 70 yards here. That's a tutty. No. And nowadays, I'm really just expecting that either to be an incompletion, a drop, or maybe even a pick, And I know Pat wants to force it down. I know he wants to get something going offensively. He wants those big chunk plays. I get it. But this offense, quite frankly, can't pull it off right now. It's like anytime we need a chunk play, it's like a wide receiver screen and then just see what he does yards after the catch. And I'm particularly talking about Rashee Rice, because it seems like that play is really only called for him. And look, to his credit, he can get yards after the catch. He's great. But it's like that's the only play that we have if we want to get a 15, 20-yard completion. And the fact that that's the only way that we're really able to do that is frustrating. So with this loss, it puts a lot of pressure on the Chiefs for this Sunday against the Bills. 100%. I've heard it from a couple different, media outlets and TV shows and places like that, where this is, if not one of the most important regular season game that Mahomes has had in his entire career. Because think about it. If we lose this game, we're not getting the 1 seed. That I think if we lose this game, the 1 seed is out of reach. We're already a game behind Baltimore and Miami. Luckily, the Jaguars lost to the Bengals, so we have the 3 seed right now. Obviously, we have the tiebreaker because we beat them head to head. But if we lose this game, man, I don't see Miami losing to Tennessee. Baltimore, they play the LA Rams. I don't see them losing that game. So yeah, the margin of error right now is slim to none. And we can't afford for the defense to have a game like they did and the offense not show up for so long. we've had to deal with an abysmal defense that can make a play here and there, and the offense just score 35, 40 plus points. That's not the recipe for success this season. It's just not. I've told you. We're relying and having to rely more on our defense because, again, through this entire season, they've been one of the top defenses in points scored on this entire season. And, 27 being the season high through 13, 14 weeks is great. The fact that that's the high and it's this deep into the season now, well, granted, you don't want it this deep into the season because you want to be rolling on all cylinders. But at the same time, the fact that 27 has been the season high so far this season is great. But again, this cannot be the time in the season now where we're reeling. That cannot happen. I felt confident after the Raiders game. I'm like, all right, we got it going again. We got the offense going. No. And I guess I have to take it with a grain of salt that it was the Raiders, right? It wasn't like it wasn't a Baltimore team. It wasn't a 49er team, an Eagles team, a Cowboys team, a Jaguars team, Bills team, Miami, even though we beat Miami, and the Jaguars. But again, we need to get our shit together. And again, sound like a broken record saying that, but I'm tired of hearing Pat and Andy say, we gotta get rolling. We'll figure it out. Damn it, you've been saying that for the past 6 weeks. Figure it out. Seriously. The recipe, again, in my opinion, run the ball, do those wide receiver screens. If they work, they work. Stop trying to go for the chunk plays. There's too many times where I've seen Pat on like first or second down try to throw it. And look, if you want to throw it deep, first down is when to do it because you still got 2 more downs after that to work with. I get it. Sometimes 3 if you're desperate. But there have been too many instances where I've seen 2nd and 3, 3rd and 2, where Pat's throwing it deep. And I'm like, what are you doing? Get the first down. We've seen too much, and there's too much film. There's too much video to see this season, too many examples, too many games and plays to pull from to tell you that that's not going to work. Run the ball, quick out pass to, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Tony, right? Justin Watson, MVS. I don't care. No, don't throw it to MVS. Anyways, but yeah, it's just frustrating because, again, this is against the status quo of how the offense has been run in KC under Mahomes. 100%. But he has to realize that's just not the case. It's like when Tyreek would get bottled up because they had those 2 high safeties and he couldn't go for those chunk plays that last season Tyreek was in KC. He had to adjust. So damn it, Pat, you got to adjust. Same thing with Andy. Adjust with those play calling. I will say, I noticed on short down plays, we ran the ball. That made me happy. I was very, very happy about that because I'm like, all right, now we can get these 2nd and shorts, 3rd and shorts, not overcomplicated. None of the cute shit in the backfield where we lose 3-4 yards and instead of getting a first down, it's 4th and 7. So progress has been made in that department. But again, Pat, I love him. But damn, I feel like too often he tries to just throw it down the field when in the back of his mind, he knows that's not going to be completed. Everyone knows it. He has to know it. We've seen too many examples this season that show that just does not work. It's not efficient, and you're not going to keep possession of the ball, and you're not going to be able to stay on the field if you keep doing that. It's as simple as that. Justin Watson, he can be hot and cold. You never know if he's going to make an amazing catch, which he can do, or it just goes straight through his hands. MVS, drops some more balls and catches them, it seems like, but he's really the only deep threat. He's our biggest receiver. Sky Moore, he has flashes here and there, but he's been disappointing so far this season. Rashee Rice has really been the only bright spot. But again, a lot of the catches he makes is really yards after the catch is where he makes most of his damage. Credit to him for being able to do that. But again, we can't get those chunk plays, and that's fine. But if that's how we're going to run this, run the ball, short yardage plays, see what the playmakers can do after the catch, and play good hard nosed defense. That's fine. But we cannot turn the ball over. We just can't. On that interception, Sky Moore, why are we? I'm not even blaming Pat or Sky Moore on that. Why are we running that play? We have 5 minutes to work with. It's a 5-point game. We're down 24-19. It's like 5-something left in the fourth quarter. We're moving the ball. We're like at midfield or maybe even a little past that. And you're running an out route one-on-one with Sky Moore. Now, I don't know if it was a bad route. I don't know if he ran it a little too flat. Maybe he should have ran down a little bit more, or Pat just overthrew it. But why are you even calling that play? Keep milking the clock. Because what I was worried about is if we try to go down and score quick, and there's like 3 minutes left on the clock, and it's a 2-point game, and they need a field goal to win, I don't feel comfortable. Given the fact given how the defense was playing so far that game, I would have been on pins and needles if there was 3-something left in the game. We're leading 26-24, and Jordan Love, who's been carving us up all night, has that much time to work with, and all he needs is a field goal? No, that is not what I wanted. And obviously, the worst case scenario happened. Pat threw a freaking pick. We still had time to possibly tie that game, but again, just no. It's just bad. And obviously, questionable officiating on both sides. That was not a roughing the passer on Pat. It wasn't. He was in bounds, and it was a good legal hit. It was just, when it's bang bang, it looks worse than what it really is. But that definitely was not a roughing the passer. That was a pass interference on MVS, 100%. And people are talking about the push in the back on Kelsey on a Hail Mary. No one's calling those on Hail Marys. They just don't. And so I wasn't begging for a flag there. We should have gotten a flag on that MVS pass interference that wasn't called. But I wouldn't have felt like we deserved to win that game if we got that call and then ended up, being on the goal line, tie it. Who knows what happened? Maybe we come out with a win. Maybe we lose in overtime. Who knows? But no, Green Bay deserved to win that game, 100%. And credit to them. Jordan Love looked great, right? It seems like the Packers have their guy, so good for them, right? I'm happy for them. But shit, man, it just was not a good outing for us, and we gotta get it together because Buffalo coming off a bye, 6-6, not having the season they wanted to so far. They're ready. They are ready for us, and man, they want to beat us now more than ever, without a doubt. So, anyways, that is just all of my thoughts right there on that game. I want to pivot here a little bit to just some major takeaways I took from this past weekend. Give a little preview with the Bills game, even though I talked about it a little bit, and then give my key games to look at. Just a little bit of an analysis with those games and my picks for those. I just want to give a little shout out to that Chargers Patriots game, 6-0. God, that was awful. That is awful. Germany beat Brazil in the World Cup 7-1 in 2014. More points were scored in that game than this one. You kidding me? That was just bad. Anyways. Don't really have anything more to say, but 6-0. And tonight, because I'm recording this on Thursday, we have the Steelers and Patriots. We might see our first 3-2 score, possibly, ever. I don't even think that's ever been a final score in the NFL. But yeah, I could 100% see that and be like, yeah, sounds about right. Anyways, let's get to some teams that are actually good. So the first game I want to talk about is that the Texans beat the Broncos 22-17, ending the I think it was 5 game win streak that the Broncos were on. They definitely pumped the brakes on that. Russ trying to cook, it's a little too much. And yeah, I check out the AFC South, man. Jaguars, Texans, Colts. Those are 3 teams that can make the playoffs right now. And you obviously the Titans aren't in. Shocker. Um, Again, and if you've been watching this show, you know how I feel about the Titans. They just got to blow that shit up, man. Face the music, right? You're in Nashville. Face it. But yeah, it's anyways. I digress. But yeah, it was a good win for the Texans. Broncos, are still on the bubble, right, of making the playoffs. But again, this was a good win for the Texans. CJ Stroud finished with 274, throwing 16 of 27, 1 touchdown. He protected the ball. Especially in these lower scoring games, just be efficient, give the ball to your guys, and just don't lose the game. And I think this was a win that the Texans needed to have in terms of the way they won, right? Because they've been able to win in shootouts. They've been able to put points on teams, and the fact that they won a lower scoring game like this, 22-17 against a Denver team that was hitting on all cylinders later on in the season, going on that 5 game win streak. That was an impressive win. So it's definitely a confidence booster for not just CJ, but this entire Texans team. Secondly, I touched on it a little bit, but that Bengals Jaguars game was crazy, right? That was not a game that the Jaguars needed to drop, especially given how the Chiefs lost, and they were neck and neck with the Dolphins and the Ravens, but losing that game, that was tough for them. Jake Browning had himself a night. Finished 32 of 37, 354 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. I mean, damn, dude. I'm not saying that the Bengals have their guy, but it was an impressive win. Obviously, they're still out of the playoff picture right now, but with 4 or 5 games left with all these teams, I mean, anything can happen given how close all these teams are in the AFC right now. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is out for a substantial amount of time, but yeah, he hurt his ankle. I saw the replay again. Friendly fire. Lineman stepped on his foot, or he like kind of tripped on it or whatever, but his ankle like kind of went like that. That's not fun. Happens a lot more than you think, unfortunately. It's just it's you're not paying attention to how close guys' legs and feet are to you, and so yeah, that's tough. I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but hopefully for not too long, because if they want to stay in good seating, they're going to need him for sure. Last game I want to talk about just really quickly before I get into this Bills Chiefs preview. Eagles and Niners. Man, that was an ass whooping. 49ers won 42-19, scoring a touchdown on all 6 of their drives. Brock Purdy is leading in the MVP conversation, odds-on favorite to win this season. And I mean, here's my thing. I can see both sides of the whole Brock Purdy conversation, where one side, people think that he's disrespected because he has all of these weapons, and that they're elevating him because not just anyone can work in that system, right? You have to be, good, accurate quarterback, composed. You got to be able to be a leader, run the offense. And so there's that side. Then there's the other side that's like, it's got Christian McCaffrey, got Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. He's got Trent Williams on his O-line. Those are weapons, man. Though Deebo, man, I've never seen a player like him. He has the body of a running back, but is skilled like a wide receiver. Like I could not imagine being on the defensive side, whether I'm a linebacker, corner, safety, and I see his big ass running in the open field, ain't no way I'm making that tackle. Ain't no, I don't care how many pads I have on. I'm not he's trucking my ass and he's going for 6. That's what happened. That's what's going on. And so he's just a beast. Same with Kittle, McCaffrey, and Brandon Ayuk too. So my fantasy, sneaky good pick. Again, it's so that's the other side of the argument. That's like his weapons are stupid, like all at his disposal. Any guy can look good in that system. So I can see both sides, but hey, you got to give him the ball accurately. You got to be able to run that offense to a T. It doesn't go unless you're delivering that ball perfectly, on time, accurately. Not every quarterback can do that, and so you got to give Brock Purdy his flowers in that essence where it's not easy to run in that Kyle Shanahan system. It's very complex, very complicated, very hard to master. And I'm not saying he's mastered it, but hey, he's pretty damn close. So, especially with all of the early turmoil when Jimmy Garoppolo was still there, Trey Lance, and he was Mr. Irrelevant, right? That's a lot mentally to have to deal with. So I feel like people aren't really taking that into consideration too. Yeah, it's easy for people to be like, "Oh, he's a professional." Well, shit. Have you ever been in that position? And these are a lot of people. These are a lot of guys that are talking that have never played a single snap of football in their damn life. So you gotta, take into consideration who the source is when people are just saying shit on the air. So again, I've never played a single snap of professional football. College, no. High school, no. I played for like a few games in like middle school, flag football. That was about it. Um, Pistol left. That's literally like all I remember. So yeah, I'm saying all this, just it's my opinion, just like anyone else's. I get it. But yeah, so I'm kind of, if he wins MVP, great. I'm not butthurt about it, but if he's not, I also understand. Same conversation has been going on with Tua, right? He's got Tyreek Hill, he's got Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Achan, all these guys, right? And so, yeah. But again, Mike McDaniel's system isn't easy. It's very complex. Again, these are offensive minds that are just like wired differently. And Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel's, like they're just different. And to have a quarterback to be able to comprehend and encapsulate all that and to be able to work that to a T, totally commendable. 100% commendable, because even, your superstars in the league, QBs, some can't do that. You got guys that are just purely gunslingers that can throw the shit out of the ball. But when it comes to being able to 100% understand and execute a system like that, not every QB can do that. And, you look at a guy like Tom Brady, right? The GOAT for now. And, he didn't have a rocket of an arm, but damn it, he was smart. He knew how to read defenses. He knew how to throw the ball accurately. And when the time came, he executed, and fortunately, my team has been on the other side of that and have been, knocked out, playoff contention, Super Bowls. It happens, but I'm over it, as you can see. And so, yeah, I'm not saying that they're Tom Brady, but I'm saying just that kind of mold of a guy that is in complex systems and can comprehend all of that, deliver the ball accurately, just do his job, right? There's something to be said about that. And so, just because he doesn't jump off of a screen like a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, that's another guy too. I mean, he doesn't have a rocket of an arm, but he's efficient, man. Like he's cold. Joe Burrow, man. Joe Burrow. So, yeah, you gotta really just think of all that. I feel like we come to look at certain players and we're just quick to assume X, Y, or Z, and they're like, oh, he's not like this, so he can't possibly be this. And I feel like it's just a conversation that's had too much of, oh, is he a good quarterback, or does this team make them look better. Every coach is going to make their guy look good. Andy Reid makes Mahomes look great. Does that take away from Mahomes' greatness? No. So you can't say the same for Tua and be like, oh, well, if he was planted somewhere else, who knows what. You can say that about anybody, and that's something I've always felt a type of way about that conversation, for the simple fact that where you're drafted obviously affects you. Who your coaching staff is, who you have on the field with you. Yeah, no shit, that affects a player. But you also got to take into consideration the situation and how the guy does in that situation. You look at Justin Fields. Physically, he has all the intangibles, but he's had a rotating, circus of coaches over his entire career so far. Who's going to be successful in that? Nobody. It doesn't matter if it's Justin Fields, whether if Mahomes was there, Deshaun Watson, because there were some time. Remember, they skipped over Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes in that draft. And they got Mitchell Trubisky instead. Mahomes wouldn't have been successful in that. Maybe he would have been a little bit better than Trubisky, but I don't care how talented the guy is. If he doesn't have a squad around him, a supporting cast, a staff around him, he's not going to be successful. Tom Brady, would he have had the success he had if he wasn't in that Bill Belichick system for his entire career? Who knows? Maybe he would get a few Super Bowls here and there, but damn it, I don't think he'd get 6. So, again, this is just, I know I'm kind of deviating from the conversation, but that just has always bothered me. It's so easy to pinpoint certain guys and just be like, oh yeah, they're not good. They're not all that. It's just because of all of the other stuff around them. Okay, yeah. But is he executing in that system? Is he doing his job? Yes. So why are you bashing a guy for the stuff that he has available to him? It's the same thing with Mahomes. Everyone was saying, oh, Tyreek Hill's gone now. Let's see what happens. You still had Andy Reid. He still had guys around him. He's a great quarterback. He's an amazing quarterback. Arguably could be the GOAT after Tom Brady. But again, am I going to sit here and say having Tyreek Hill, didn't make him look better? No, I'm not going to say that. Tyreek Hill's a freaking monster. He's a beast. He's in the MVP conversation right now. So I'm not going to say that he didn't help him look better, but he also didn't make the player. Right? That's the other thing. These players, they come in, they make do with what they have with their situation. And, you can't put everything on the staff or the players. The QB has to make the best of that situation, what he makes of it. And if he's successful, you can't just pivot back and be like, oh, well, it's because he has the weapons around him. It's like it's a lose-lose situation sometimes, because if he doesn't perform well, you're like, oh, it's the QB. If he does perform well, oh, it's the guys around him. No, dude. Can't be doing that shit. So, anyways, I digress. I know I deviated from that a little bit, but I felt like that just needed to be said, because being a QB on a team is hard. It's really freaking hard, And, yeah, I feel like guys who have never played a single snap of football are too quick to assume that, oh, well, that's your job. Shit. You do it then. Oh, wait, you can't. Because you don't have that type of ability that player has to get to where they were able to get in that position. Them playing football their entire life, because they have the intangibles, they have the talent, they have the intellect to do that. But your dumbass can just talk. No. I can't remember where I left off with the 49ers-Eagles game, but I'll just say that was an ass whooping. A lot of people are calling it just because Philly had been, winning close games up to this point. They had played, with this game included, against the 49ers 3 games in 2 weeks. That's a lot. And so a loss was coming. You just didn't know when and where it was going to happen and how bad. But damn. It happened against the 49ers, and they lost by a lot. Yeah, I think the 49ers are the top team right now in the NFL. I know I had the Eagles number 1, but man, I think the 49ers moved up a notch. I think they're the team to beat right now in the NFL. Eagles, again, I don't want to overreact too much, but it would be one thing if they lost, in a close game. Then I wouldn't feel this way. But they lost 42-19 in Philly, in the elements, right? Just wasn't a good game for them. It wasn't a good outing for Philly. And yeah, look, are they going to bounce back? Absolutely. And they're going to meet again, 100%. I think in the NFC Championship game, without a doubt. So it'll be interesting to see how both of these teams play out for the rest of the season. Obviously, you got the Cowboys there too. That Cowboys Eagles game is going to be huge, and that's in one of the previews that I have coming up here. But yeah, that's all I got to take away. 49ers, when they're fully healthy, that's all I got to say. Really quickly too, with the Bills Chiefs matchup again, this is a crucial game, and this will be the first game that I start off with the few games that I'm going to just kind of break down just a little bit and give a prediction. Again, Josh Allen, he can never help himself with wanting to play his game, which is be physical, make big plays, be Superman, be the guy who wins the game. But that can work against him. And I'm hoping that this Chiefs defense really gives it to him. If they see his ass tumbling down, hit him hard. Justin Reed, knock his ass on the ground. Again, I love you, Justin Reed, man. You can freaking hit, man. You keep it up. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that he gets too antsy. He wants to run it up. He wants to try to do too much, and that's what gets him. Because that's kind of been the status quo of his career up to this point. He can be a little reckless. Now, when the plays work and he slings the ball, that's caught. It's fantastic. He can make plays with his legs. Like, he's a beast. But again, there's been more instances, more often than not, where that's come around and bit him in the ass and bit the Bills' ass. So I'm hoping we can use that to our advantage. Again, keep the run game going with Pacheco. He played great. He was limited or out yesterday in practice due to his shoulder. I don't know how serious that is. Hopefully he's right for this game, but we're going to need him. We're going to need guys to step up. This is, again, the microscope for every game. It's tighter and tighter the closer we get to the playoffs. Everything is super tight right now, and the margin of error is super slim. Mahomes, we cannot turn the ball over. I'm afraid that if we turn the ball over, or if we lose the turnover battle, that's going to be our demise. Because there have been all of the games that we've lost, in my opinion, were due to just us self-destructing or self-inflicted wounds. And if those don't happen, we win those games. But that loss against Detroit, to the Eagles, to the Broncos, I didn't feel like those teams were better than us in those games, but we lost. And again, like I said, with the Packers, I felt like they were the better team that game. Are they the better team overall? I don't necessarily think so, but they came out and played, and they outplayed us that one night. So again, any given Sunday, anything can happen. But I think the Chiefs understand the magnitude of this game and the importance of us winning it, because it's a matter of really still being in the race for the 1 seed, or if we're going to be playing on the road in the playoffs, which Mahomes has never done in his career up to this point. So anyways, I want to give a prediction here. I think this will be not a high scoring game, but I don't think it'll be too low either. I think the Chiefs can win this game 24-21. It'll be a close game, 100%. But I feel confident that we'll be able to hold this Bills team a little bit. Again, 27 is the most we've allowed so far this season, and I hope that we don't match that number nor exceed it. So I feel good with the defense and how we'll be able to hold it down. Mike Edwards is going to, replace Brian Cook at that strong safety, so he needs to show up and play. Um, Hopefully, we get Nick Bolton back. I feel like that'll be huge if we can get him. D line is healthy. We're good. Um, Chris Jones, man, needs to have a game. Chris Jones needs to have a game. Charles Menahue, Karloftis, man, Derek Nottie, I need you guys to show up. Um, and hey, and shout out to Mike Dana, who's had a great game, a great season so far. He has a few sacks too. He's been having a career year so far. So again, hitting on all cylinders from the defensive side of the ball so far this season. We were off track on Sunday night against the Packers, but I feel like we'll get our shit together and Spag is going to be like, let's turn it up. And obviously, and with our corners and Snead and McDuffie, those guys always show up. I feel like we're going to be able to lock down Stephon Diggs without a doubt. Gabe Davis is always the guy I feel like that eats us up. So we need to keep an eye on him too, because when we hold Stephon, it seems like Gabe Davis always has a career game. So we need to hold him as well. But yeah, I feel confident. We need this. And I feel like Mahomes and Reed and the entire team knows that we need this game. It's in Arrowhead. Let's go, man. Let's go. The second game I have here is probably one you maybe weren't expecting, and that's the Colts and Bengals. Colts are sitting at 7-5 right now. Bengals at 6-6. Colts are that 7 seed right now, I believe. And this is a big game because, again, Bengals are right on the cusp. Jake Browning, I don't know if that was, kind of an anomaly with him playing the way that he did, or if he's really coming into his own, and that's who he is. And so I feel like with this game, two teams that are kind of nip and tuck trying to get those, last few playoff seeds, I feel like this could be a very important game for both teams. The Bengals win, they're in the playoff picture. And if the Colts lose, they're kind of like on the outside looking in. Again, I don't know all the tiebreakers right now and everything, so I don't know if they would still technically be in. I'm not sure. But this is an important game because, again, both teams with backup QBs, Gardner Minshew's obviously been with the Colts a little bit longer than Jake Browning in terms of playing this season. But I think it'll be a good game. I'm going to pick the Colts here. I think they just have a better overall team, but dare I say I'm not 100% confident in that pick. Again, Bengals won that game against the Jaguars, but dropped 2 games before that against the Steelers and Ravens. And so, again, we'll see, but I think this will be a higher scoring game. I'm going to pick the Colts here to win this game 30-28. It could definitely be either or, but again, I think for these two teams and where they want to be, again, Bengals, yeah, I understand you lose Joe Burrow, but they don't want this season to be a wash. They still want to compete. So I 100% respect that and understand that. And from the Colts perspective, yeah, Anthony Richardson's out for the rest of the season, but you guys have been able to right the ship so far. And so, yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I'm picking the Colts 30-28, but definitely tune in for that. The last game to watch for this weekend, Eagles and Cowboys. I mean, it has to be. It's for right now to be division leader, I believe. I don't know, because if the Cowboys win this game, they'll split the season. They'll have the same record, but then it goes to conference wins. I don't know if the Eagles have more conference wins than the Cowboys. I'm not 100% sure. But this is a big game because if the Cowboys lose, they're not winning the division, and they're going to be a wild card team. And then they'll have to face San Francisco and Philadelphia at their places, and that's a very tough road for the Cowboys. But if they can win this game, it's going to be a lot easier, and they can possibly win the division. Who knows where they'll be in seeding? They could even be one. But again, this is very tight, man. It's very, very tight. Margins are very slim right now, and this is kind of not make or break because they'll obviously both be in the playoffs, but it'll definitely affect kind of the rest of the season in terms of their performance in the playoffs, in my opinion. With that being said, I'm going to pick the Eagles here. Cowboys, again, I understand, and I've said this argument for them. There's something to be said about, yes, beating bad teams, but beating them the way that they have. There is definitely something to be said for that. Now, on the flip side, they have beat up on really bad teams. They haven't really played competition. Now, they had a great game against the Seahawks. Defense did not show up, but they won in a shootout. Dak played great. So I don't think this will be that type of game. It's a division game, both very physical teams. Defense for the Eagles isn't, you know, what it's been in prior seasons. And it seems like against good teams, the defense of the Cowboys gets exposed. If they're not getting to the QB, they can be, chewed up for yards. And so, but again, I think given the magnitude of this game, this isn't. I don't think this will be in the 30s. I think this is definitely going to be in the 20s. I want to pick the Eagles to win this game. I think they have the better overall team. I really do. They have proven that even if they win ugly, they win against good teams. And Cowboys so far, yeah, they beat the Seahawks, which is definitely the best opponent they've beaten so far this season. But it was kind of a nail biter, and defense didn't show up. I want to pick the Eagles to win this game here, 28-27. It's going to be a very close game, I think. But I just think they're going to make more plays down the stretch. And and with DeAndre Swift, I know he got banged up a little bit in that last game against the 49ers. He got popped. I saw that game. He got smacked. So I don't know his status. I don't know if he's playing. That'll be important because if he's out, that's definitely going to be tough because they need to get that run game going. But if he's in, I feel confident. But yeah, I think, in my opinion, look, Dak has played MVP caliber season so far. I think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback. I feel like he's more clutch. I feel like he makes those plays to win games more often than Dak does. And he's great with his legs. That's the other thing. I feel like he's more of a threat in the pass game as well as the run game. I feel like Dak is more of a pass threat, but Jalen can throw. And he's more of a run threat, obviously. And so I trust the defense a little bit more with Philadelphia for the simple fact that they've been able to win ugly against better competition in comparison to the Cowboys, who have not been able to shore up and tighten up on defense when they play good caliber teams. So again, both smacked by the 49ers. That's important to keep in mind. They both got destroyed by the 49ers. So, I think this game too is also important because neither one of them want to go to Levi Stadium and play the 49ers in their house in the playoffs. No way. They're like, let's bring them to our spots. I feel like that's also in the back of their mind too. They're like, oh shit. All right, here we go. So again, picking the Eagles here, 28-27, going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be tough, and people are definitely going to want to tune in for that. Anyways, that is all I have for today, guys. Thank you all for listening. I know I recorded a little bit later than I do typically throughout the week, but it's been a busy week with work. Got to pay the bills, you know what I'm saying? So this doesn't pay the bills yet, but maybe soon. Hopefully it will. Anyone wants to sponsor me, I am totally open. 100%. I don't care. Well, I have standards, so I kind of care. But yeah. Anyways, thank you all for listening.